Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Chapter 23. Nicole's Point of View. Whenever Leo texted me at an odd hour, something felt off. So, when my phone lit up at 7 in the morning, my stomach tightened. Either he was stirring trouble again, or he'd decided to interrupt my sleep for no reason. Either way, I didn't appreciate being woken. What annoyed me more than the message was its timing. Why tell me to go to Derek's later when nothing important would happen for hours? The whole thing smelled like drama. I sat up and considered all the petty things I could do, mental voodoo and other small revenge fantasies. But mostly I sighed and went back under the covers. Derek, it turned out, had been awake too. He'd messaged me a few minutes after Leo. His message was short and ridiculous, and I typed a sarcastic reply before falling asleep again. A few hours later my phone rang and jolted me fully awake. Blinking against the light, I answered. "Hello. Where's my money?" my mother demanded, sharp and impatient even through the line. I rubbed at my eyes. I said I'll have it next week. I'm not ignoring you, just not right now. There was a beat. I'll wait. Don't go anywhere. I took a breath and tried to keep my voice even. I'm not going anywhere. I'll talk to you later, Mom. I hung up and tossed the phone onto the bed, already bracing for the day. Packing up Jack's clothes felt like one more small, painful chore on top of everything else. I sealed the box with duct tape and hoped I'd remember to mail it. Otherwise it would linger at my feet for months while I pretended not to see it. I pulled an outfit from the drawer and laid it on the bed. It was simple and practical, something I could wear while running errands and pretending I was fine. But when I glanced in the mirror, a familiar swell of loneliness hit me. The sight of his name in my phone, the glimpse of what had been, it all pressed against me until I sat on the bed and let myself cry for a moment. It felt ridiculous and necessary at the same time. After a while I forced myself to get up. A shower, some stale cereal, and my daily medication later, I sat on the kitchen counter and let the quiet settle over me. The silence was loud. It kept reminding me how much had changed. I dressed in a practical black dress and a light jacket, switched purses when I noticed the one I'd planned to use had been a gift from someone I wasn't ready to think about, and left my apartment. Maurice was on his usual chair by his door, guitar in hand and a soft smile on his face. He greeted me as if the morning were ordinary, and for a second the world felt less sharp. On the street, traffic was busy. When a lull finally allowed me to cross, I ran and felt the ridiculous, guilty thrill of making it to the other side without an accident. At the gas station entrance, a car cut in front of me and I stumbled back. My heart was doing that panic drumbeat, and for a second, I had a flash of anger so hot I wanted to confront the driver. Instead, I steadied myself and headed inside. The cold blast of the store's air conditioning hit me and I wrapped my arms around myself. Diego saw me and came rushing over. "Hey, Francis, are you working today?" "No, I'm off. Just here for a drink," I said, but he asked with that hopeful look, the kind that makes you feel like you're the only person who can save someone's day. He begged so earnestly that I couldn't resist. He promised to give me the day's earnings for his shift and left me with an awkward, grateful grin as he ran out the door. The 2 hours behind the register crawled by. People came and went with their usual petty problems and minor dramas. When a group of boys wandered in, their behavior rude and careless, I felt my patience drain. They joked loudly and walked the aisles like they owned the place. I reached down for the broom, my small, practical weapon, and crossed to the front. Standing tall on my heels, I made sure my steps were heard. "Hey," I called, keeping my voice steady. "You don't get to treat this place like that. Take what you need, but pay for it. If you don't, I'll call the owner and the police. This is a store, not your playground." One of them laughed, but the laugh faltered when Diego came back with a few people trailing close behind. Maybe it was the firmness in my voice, maybe the presence of the others, but the group faltered. I kept talking, short, sharp sentences that made the point without escalating things. "Leave now," I said. before these turns into something you'll regret." They muttered and shuffled out, embarrassed more than scared. The relief that flooded me was surprisingly soft, like a weight lifted and left me a little unsteady. When the rush finally died down, I sank behind the counter and let myself breathe. My legs ached from the heels, my mood was exhausted, and my heart hummed with that familiar ache of missing someone who used to be there. Work ended and I stepped back out onto the street, a little steadier than before. Small victories, I told myself, getting through the day, standing up for myself, finishing the box of clothes. They didn't fix the hole inside, but they kept me moving forward. As I walked away from the store, Maurice waved and I waved back. The city carried on, noise and small kindnesses and the slow, stubborn business of people living their lives. I kept my head up and walked toward whatever came next, knowing that the ache would come back but also that I had survived another morning. Get out! I had never seen people move so fast. I stepped back behind the register, palming the cold metal I'd hidden, my hands still tingling from the adrenaline, and tried to act normal. Oddly, I was still belching from the drink I'd had an hour earlier. Apparently, it was a very impressive beverage. A mother I saw every week walked in with her little girl, Faith. She was shy and kept a finger to her mouth. "Hi, Faith," I greeted, smiling. "Hi," the girl whispered. "Want some candy?" "Pick whatever you like," I offered. Her eyes lit up as she toddled off down an aisle and returned with a small bag of M&Ms. Her mother paid and mouthed thanks. I waved as they left. Small, ordinary moments like that steadied me after the earlier chaos. The next hour dragged. 2 hours flew by sometimes and other times they crawled. This one crawled. Ever since I lost the movie theater job for letting friends in for free, nothing felt steady. That job had been a blast. A huge theater with an arcade where you could get away with things if you knew the tricks. Losing it had been stupid and painful, and suddenly every shift felt like penance. Diego showed up right on time. "Did my dad come in at all?" he asked as we switched places behind the counter. "Nope." "Everything go okay?" "Fine." He hesitated. "Do you have to leave?" I sighed. "Yeah." "Come on, Francis," he said, sounding disappointed. I rolled my eyes. "Diego, I'm old enough to be your mom. If you don't stop flirting with me, I'll make sure your parents hear about it and they won't be pleased." He gave me a goofy grin. "In time maybe." When his break ended, he slipped me a few bills like a kid offering a treasure and dashed out, promising to pay me the day's earnings. The register was quiet afterward. The slow minutes hung in the store like dust motes. I grabbed a cold drink and slipped out the door, scanning for a gap in traffic. Just as I popped the lid and took a big gulp, a car eased up beside me. "Nicole, get in!" Raina shouted, voice carrying across the street. I climbed into the car. Raina's energy was never subtle, squeezing between two guys in the back seat and taking another sip. She introduced them quickly. One was Javier, her cousin, and the others were his friends. "Eric's back in prison, if you're wondering," Raina said with a shake of her head when I asked. "He keeps making bad choices." "Again?" Best surprised. It had been so long since I'd heard from him. "Pretty much. He's a mess." Raina shrugged. They drove like they owned the road, flipping off a few impatient drivers. I teased the guys about eyeing my drink and told them I wasn't sharing. Raina directed Javier toward my mom's place. She knew the neighborhood well. The ride wasn't long, but it left me in a sour mood. The morning had started off wrong. Suspicious texts, a breakdown, getting roped into a shift at the store just so I could make the money to keep my mom quiet. I'd meant to meet someone at a tattoo shop after my drink, but those plans evaporated when I had to work. Small sacrifices, I told myself. At least I got a ride. At the trailer, I asked to be dropped a block away so I could walk the rest. Raina called me names in her friendly way as I hopped out and blew her a kiss. Walking past the trailers was like walking through old photographs, each one a snapshot of what used to be before things fell apart at home. My parents hadn't always been like this. There had been Christmas mornings, presents, and a sense of safety that I clung to like a lifeline. Then everything changed. It had been messy. My dad's job as principal ended when he was caught in a scandal, and my mom didn't help by trying to control the situation. Instead of reporting it, she made threats that ruin lives. When the adults around me started choosing pills over groceries and school supplies, my childhood shifted into survival mode. That's why I had spent so much time at Derek and Leo's, because they were family when mine wasn't. I hesitated at my mom's door and knocked. Voices inside was loud. When the door opened, smoke curled from her fingers. "Got my money?" she asked, blunt and impatient. I handed her the cash, more than she asked for, just to stop the arguing. "Going somewhere?" I asked. She ignored me for a second as she counted the bills, then said, "Pharmacy." I knew where she planned to go. Still, I kept my tone light. "You look nice." "Move," she snapped and stomped out to her truck. We didn't talk much. It was always like that, two people who belonged to one another but had forgotten how to be kind. She dropped me off without a word. I watched her truck fade before I took a breath and walked toward Derek's building. Derek and Leo's cars sat out front. I had a spare key, so I let myself in, determined to be loud enough to wake anyone who deserved it. The apartment was dim. The kitchen light made a small pool of brightness, and Sasha was curled on the couch, half asleep with the TV on mute. I let the door slam behind me on purpose, then smiled when Sasha startled awake and clutched the blanket to his chest. "Hey," I said, blinking to show off my lashes and testing the mood, ready for whatever came next. Nicole's POV. "Hi," he said softly, pulling the blanket higher to cover half his face. Honestly, I didn't mind. I could see his eyes, and they were more than enough. I tucked my hair behind my ears and smiled at him. "I like what you're wearing," I teased quietly. "I'm not wearing anything." "Exactly." I grinned, sliding onto the couch beside him and nudging him aside. He clutched the blanket tighter, and for a moment I wondered if he really was hiding something, or just hiding himself. "Why are you here?" he asked, eyes darting away. He seemed shy in a way I hadn't expected. "I was summoned by a friend," I said with mock seriousness. "Oh right. Plenty of those around here," he mumbled. The silence that followed was awkward, thick enough to touch. Derek had told me a little about Sasha, but not enough to decode the tension buzzing between us. "Are you into guys?" I asked. He dropped the blanket a little, shaking his head. "No. I like girls." My eyebrows lifted. "What kind of girls?" "All kinds," he said quickly. "As long as they're girls." "All shapes, sizes, colors?" I pressed. "Yes." "Interesting." I squinted at him. "Why? Why do I like girls?" He looked baffled, his cheeks turning red. Because they're pretty? What kind of question is that?" "Don't question my questions, Sasha," I scolded lightly. I don't know. I just do." "What about trans girls?" I asked carefully. He shifted uncomfortably. "I've never really thought about it." I leaned back, folding my hands on my knees. "See, I've met plenty of guys who said they liked all girls, but most didn't really mean it. They always had exceptions, not this type, or not that type. It matters to me, you know. I like all of them, okay? Why are you asking me this?" I laughed softly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear again. "Because if you're close to Derek, you'll be close to me too. And it's important I know who you are. Besides," I hesitated, then smiled. "You're cute. And I was hoping maybe you'd want to go on a date with me." Sasha froze, his mouth opening slightly like he'd just seen a ghost. "What?" I leaned closer, whispering, "Would you like to go on a date with me?" He blinked rapidly. Saying it quietly doesn't make it easier to hear. My heart sank. Was he avoiding giving me an answer? Did I just ruin everything? I never blurt things out like this, but something about him had made the words tumble out before I could stop them. I stood quickly. "Forget it. I'm sorry. That was the wrong time and place." But before I could step away, he grabbed my hand. "Wait, where are you going?" I turned back. The blanket slipped, revealing that he wasn't naked at all, just in shorts. "Sorry," I murmured. He shook his head with a small laugh. "Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." "I just feel like I messed up," I whispered. "You didn't," he said gently, still looking at me with those green eyes. I didn't know whether to run or stay. My nerves were everywhere. But then, out of nowhere, he said, "Yes." My heart skipped. "Yes. Yes, I'd like to go on a date with you." For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. He was really saying yes? My chest tightened, and my mind spun with 100 thoughts. Did he like me? Did he think I was pretty? Why would he agree if he didn't feel something? "Really?" I asked, my voice small. "Really?" he admitted, though he was blushing furiously. "Though, I think I'm sweating now." I laughed nervously. "It's kind of cold in here, actually." "Then maybe I just have a problem." He was so cute. Unbelievably, painfully cute. Every glance, every nervous laugh. It was all too much. And when his eyes landed on me, I felt like I truly existed in that moment, like he saw me. Every detail about him was something I wanted to memorize. His short blonde hair, his bright green eyes, his clear skin, his nervous smile. And, oh, those lips. Soft, pink, and perfect. Before I could stop myself, the words slipped out. "I love you." I slapped my hand over my mouth instantly, horrified. My knees buckled and I sank to the floor. Sasha froze, his face turning an even deeper shade of red. "Whoa, okay, gross," someone exclaimed. Leo had just walked out of Derek's room, catching the most awkward moment in history. "What's going on?" Derek called from inside. Leo smirked. "Nicole's confessing to Sasha, and he looks like he's about to faint." "I think I might actually faint," Sasha admitted weakly. Chapter 24. Leo's point of view. The past few weeks with Derek had felt like the best kind of chaos, like a roller coaster that made my stomach flip in the best way. But the ride was over and real life was waiting. I had spent time and money to steal every weekend I could with him before my responsibilities caught up. Before all this, Derek and I only saw each other every other week. It was hard. Spending nearly every weekend together made it clear how much better we were when we were together. Arguments soothed, doubts quieted, and small wounds started to heal simply because we were there for one another. Life, of course, never makes things easy for people who deserve a break. Most days it felt like you had to work twice as hard to stay in place. The time with Derek had brought things back to life inside me I thought I'd lost. I was happy and I could tell he was too. But school and work were waiting, and if I let them slide, I'd lose both. Whenever I opened a book lately, a dozen other possibilities crowded in, places I wanted to go, things I wanted to try. Putting myself in one box forever felt wrong. On the drive back home I cried. Not because I was weak, but because trading the smiles and small comforts of the weekend for the grind of weekdays hurt in a way I couldn't fake. Most of the tears were because I knew I wouldn't see Derek for a while. Missing him felt like the first time I'd fallen for him all over again. The next few weeks promised to be long and slow, but I resolved to keep my head down and stay focused. No matter how often I doubted myself, I wouldn't lose sight of my goals. I trudged into the dorms and gave the place the deepest, most theatrical sigh I could muster. I wasn't the only one dragging. There were other students with tired faces and red rims around their eyes. I nodded at them, a small salute to shared misery. The weekends with Derek had become my bright spots. I even found myself enjoying time with Sasha, who had a calm, awkward charm I hadn't expected. On my way to Asha's room, I remembered I'd promised Nathan I'd come back to our room. A sudden rush of nerves hit me. I had been avoiding him for a while and I told myself I'd stop ducking it. I went downstairs and walked slowly toward our door, wondering if he'd even be there. It was only 8, he could have been out with friends. He hadn't gone home that weekend, so the odds were that he'd stayed. What would I do, knock or just walk in? Part of me wanted to push the door open and march in. Part of me wanted to hang back. I shoved the key in and opened the door with the kind of momentum that said I'd decided. I came to a halt. There was a girl sitting on my bed with her legs crossed, watching Nathan on his bed as he played his guitar. She looked up and said, "Oh." Jealousy surprised me, sharp and unwelcome. Nathan jumped up and set the guitar down, smiling like he'd been caught doing something he loved. "Leo," he breathed and stepped forward with a quick hug. He was trying to act casual, I could tell. I accepted the hug without returning it. When he pulled back, I noticed his right arm was in a cast. It looked fresh and clean, no doodles, no signatures. He didn't like people scribbling on it. What happened? I asked. Fell and broke my arm. It'll be fine, he shrugged as if it were nothing. How are you even playing with that? I asked, incredulous. He grinned and nodded toward the girl. I was trying. Alexa, this is Leo. Leo, this is Alexa. Alexa stood and, instead of a handshake, hugged me. I didn't hug back. She giggled and admitted Nathan had shown her a photo of us. Nice to meet you, she said. Wow, he's even cuter in person. I smiled politely. Thanks. I'm very gay and allergic to anything womanly. I meant it lightheartedly, and she laughed a bit too loudly in reply. She dabbed, an odd, silly gesture that made me blink more than once, and then left with a cheerful, good night. I closed the door and locked it, just to be safe. Silence fell across the room after that. I dragged my luggage inside, tossed a bag into the hamper, and put my clean clothes away. Nathan watched me with an intensity that felt like heat on my skin. Thoughts crowded my head, dozens of ways to start a conversation, none of them fitting right. Forcing words felt false. If things were really okay between us, the conversation would be easy. But we had been through something big. It wasn't that simple. She's just a friend, by the way, Nathan said softly. My hand stilled. That was the problem exactly. He was still in love with me. We'd patch things up, but feelings don't fold away neat and tidy overnight. He'd fallen for me the way some people fall and break, and it wasn't something to be ignored. If I said the wrong thing now, I could hurt him, or make things awkward for Derek too. No matter what I chose, someone could get hurt. I felt lost. I sat on the bed, exhausted. I don't care if she's a friend or more, I said, rubbing my forehead. His eyes dropped. Leo, you get jealous every time I make a new friend because you think they'll replace you. I know we talked, I said, staring at the ceiling, but I don't want to overthink everything anymore. I don't want to craft every sentence like it's a negotiation. I don't want to give you false hope and hurt you. I want things to feel easy again, but I don't know how to get back there. Nathan's voice grew serious. I told you I'll be fine. You're still my best friend, and that won't change. If you want things to go back to how they were, let's try. No matter what happens, I'll still care about you. Call it whatever you want. My feelings don't change because we pick a label. His honesty made something ache in my chest. I swallowed hard and fought the urge to look away. I had seen him break down before, pour his heart out because loving me felt too heavy to carry alone. That wasn't the sort of thing people did for fun. It was real, and pretending it hadn't happened felt wrong. You can't say that lightly, I told him, trying to steady my voice. It matters. If you love me like that, then every careless thing I do could hurt you. We sat in quiet for a long moment, both of us balancing on different edges of the same difficult choice. Outside, the world went on, classes, laughter, the dull rhythm of days. But inside the room, we had to decide how to keep caring for each other without breaking what we already had. Leo's POV. Nathan shook his head slowly. No, Leo. You don't get it. I've felt this way for a long time. Yes, I said things I shouldn't have, and honestly, it was embarrassing. But I was overwhelmed, because I've been through so much with you. I've always been afraid of losing you. It was a weak moment and I can't undo it, I just have to live with it. But even before you knew, I already cared about you. This isn't new for me. Even with Derek around, I carried it quietly. He carefully leaned back on his bed, trying to hide the shine in his eyes. Everyone holds on to at least a little hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll have a chance with someone. Even if it's just 1%. That's why I said what I said. I was desperate. I thought, well, he's single now, and if I don't say something, maybe someone else will step in. I wasn't thinking straight. I sighed. Oh, forget it, I said, jumping from my bed onto his. I landed on him and curled up against him like a ridiculous little worm. He winced. Wow, good thing I broke my right arm, or you'd have just snapped it again. I missed you so much, Nathan. I cooed dramatically, rolling over him like a human rolling pin. Are you trying to break the rest of my bones? Is that your plan? If you're covered in casts, Nothing bad can happen to us again. He frowned. That's not exactly funny. I stretched out on top of him, resting the side of my head against his shoulder. I don't care. I'm a changed Leo, I whispered near his ear. The last couple of weekends were wild, but now I'm choosing happy days too. From now on, it's all happy thoughts and positive energy. Life's going to be great. Tears slid down my face, betraying me. I'm going to be a happy Leo, I whispered, even as I cried. There. Nathan patted my stomach like I was some restless pet. Why is life so hard? I asked with shaky breaths. Hey, Nathan said gently. I know you've got classes tomorrow, but there's a bonfire at the beach tonight. I'm in. You sure? Yeah. Definitely. He raised an eyebrow. I'd love to go too, but you're like... He poked my ribs. I slid off him like an actual worm, landing on the floor without effort. The day had been long, and I'd barely slept the night before. But bonfire parties were the best. There was nothing more peaceful than a circle of people gathered around a glowing fire under the stars. Maybe it was exactly what I needed to clear my head. Nathan drove us. I could hardly keep my eyes open in the car, and he asked me a dozen times if I was sure. I nodded each time. When we got there, we split off to greet our different friends. Nathan's crew were straight guys who talked about sports, music, and beer. I could sort of join in, if the topics shifted to musicals, drag shows, and rainbow-colored cocktails. My circle was mostly girls and other gay friends, and Nathan usually kept his distance. It always struck me as strange how different we were when put side by side. He and I had been known as best friends for years. Everyone knew it. But when you really looked at us, what made us tick, what made us who we were, it seemed impossible that we'd be this close. And yet we were. My friends shoved a couple of cold beers into my hands to celebrate life. I stopped after 3. I didn't want to be drunk with class the next morning. I was tipsy but still me. Leo. Raiden waved from the other side of the fire. Hey Ray. I called back. How are you? Depressed. Exhausted. Overwhelmed. I'm good. Where's Bill? He's sick. Caught the flu. Sorry to hear that. Can I take a picture with you? Sure. Come on over. We took one photo, which turned into a flood of others. Suddenly everyone wanted pictures with me. I hadn't realized I looked so put together today, especially after crying and barely sleeping. Technically, I should have looked like a zombie. Maybe that was the new style. Across the fire, Nathan was still chatting with his friends. Even from a distance, I could see him clearly. He wore a green hoodie with the sleeves rolled up, his hair messy. I secretly hoped he'd grow it out and try a new style. I was over the whole hipster cut. He looked great with shaved sides, but it wasn't really him. He looked up, caught me staring, and my heart skipped. The fire flickered between us, its light making his eyes glow. He smiled softly, and neither of us looked away. That was the reason I ran every time things got too close. The reason I avoided him in hallways. The reason I couldn't just face it. Because I didn't want to lose him. And yet, as I breathed slowly, one terrifying thought crossed my mind. Could I be in love with 2 people? Monday came. I spent the morning finishing an email from my professor, then sat through 4 hours of class barely listening, wishing I could disappear. So many thoughts swirled in my head. I already wanted to drop out of school, and now this? Could it be true? No, it wasn't possible. I knew myself better than that. But then, why was I doubting? Why was I confused? I was an adult, not a teenager with mixed-up hormones. At one point, I hunched over, feeling sick. Fear coated me like ice. The day outside was perfectly sunny, but I felt like a frozen tomb. I couldn't love Nathan. Not like that. I already loved Derek. That had never changed. From the first moment I met him, my feelings had been clear. No matter the fights, no matter the struggles, I loved him. I'd give anything for him. I'd step in front of danger for him without hesitation. So why was I even questioning it? The answer was simple. Nathan and I weren't going to be the same anymore. And as much as I told myself he was like a brother, my best friend in the world, it was hard to accept the thought of losing that. Later, I picked up a shift at work. Nothing too important was waiting for me at school anyway. I'd rather be anywhere else than stuck in a room with Nathan for hours. I needed space. One thing was certain, I couldn't tell anyone about this. Not a soul. This was something I had to figure out alone. My job, thankfully, was a calm escape. I worked in a women's clothing store, oddly sandwiched between a fast food joint and an adult shop. Most of our customers were kind, browsing peacefully. The store itself was dark, sleek, with shiny black marble floors and black and white photos of models on the walls. The only downside? The uniform. I had to wear a suit every shift, and I only owned one. It was a hassle, but worth it. I looked sharp, and I knew Derek would have appreciated it. "Excuse me," a tall woman asked, holding up a swimsuit. "Do you have a smaller size of this?" "Under the display table, right where you found it," I said politely. She smiled. "Thanks." And just like that, I went back to juggling customers, while secretly battling the storm inside me. Leo's POV. Was I in love with Nathan? How had I even come to that conclusion? To figure it out, I had to retrace everything that made me feel this way. Did I get butterflies around him? I always assumed it was just because he made me happy. Did I find him attractive? Nathan was undeniably cute. That much was obvious. But was he the kind of attractive that stirred deeper feelings? I always told myself no. Sure, he was handsome, hot even, but those thoughts felt wrong for me to entertain, so I pushed them aside. I had plenty of good-looking friends, even some more striking than Derek, and I didn't feel anything beyond friendship for them. So why was Nathan different? The real question wasn't about attraction. It was about why I couldn't bear the thought of losing him. Why was it that when Derek asked me to stop talking to Nathan, I refused, even if it meant risking my relationship? I valued Derek more than anything, so why couldn't I let Nathan go? Part of me wanted Derek to understand me. I was frustrated because he rarely listened to my side or tried to see things through my eyes. It felt unfair, controlling even, for him to decide who I should and shouldn't be friends with. That anger made me cling harder to Nathan. And then there was that awful night, things that never should have happened, mistakes that still haunted me. But Nathan wasn't someone who would ever deliberately hurt me, and I knew I'd never want to hurt him either. It was just an impossible situation. But did any of that answer the real question? The truth was, Derek never liked my friends. He always complained whenever he had to hang out with them, saying it felt like too much Leo. He preferred calmer, quieter company. That was one of the differences between us. I thrived on playful energy, he found it exhausting. So maybe I'd held on to Nathan not because he was a backup plan, but because he was irreplaceable in my life. Even before I knew how he felt, he wasn't someone I could imagine letting go. Why did my life have to be like this? Why couldn't I have been something simple? A bird, a fish, even a rat? Instead, I had to be me, human, complicated, and stuck with a heart that didn't know where to land. I had spent years with Nathan by my side, especially when Derek was far away. Derek and I started school together, but at different places, and the distance had created cracks. The affection I couldn't give Derek, I often gave Nathan instead. Had that shaped something inside me I hadn't noticed until now? Was it possible I'd created something deeper without realizing it? Thinking about it made me angry at myself. I felt like I didn't deserve Derek or Nathan. Maybe I didn't deserve happiness at all. But then again, how could I have stopped this? Life often worked in confusing, unfair ways. Mistakes happen, but they're what shape us. If we never made them, we'd never grow, never learn the difference between right and wrong. If none of this had happened, I wouldn't be here, re-evaluating my choices, trying to figure out how not to repeat them. I lay on the floor at work, letting a wave of sadness wash over me. A coworker noticed and quickly took over the register as customers lined up. "Hello," someone shouted. A blurry shadow leaned over me, shaking my shoulders. "Leave me here," I muttered. "Let me turn to dust." "Leo, someone's here for you. Tell them I'm dead." "He said to tell you it's Dakota." My ears twitched. Dakota? Why was he here? How did he know where to find me? My imagination spiraled. Did he like me too? Was I really at the center of some cliché love triangle? Or worse, A love square? My coworker helped me up, and I turned toward the glass doors. Sure enough, Dakota was outside, holding a bag. I straightened my bow tie and stepped outside. "Hey," I said. Dakota turned and smiled. "Hey, Leo. How'd you know I work here?" "Oh, Derek told me," he replied casually. "Derek sent you?" My stomach tightened. "For what?" "To give you this." He lifted the bag. "Careful, it's hot." I peeked inside and nearly teared up. Puerto Rican food. My favorite. The nearest restaurant was an hour away, longer with California traffic, and yet here it was, still warm in my hands. When Derek came by my place, he noticed the restaurant nearby. He called me this morning and asked if I could pick some things up for you. He told me this was around the time you'd be leaving work. Oh. My chest ached as I pressed a hand over my heart. I'm not off for a few more hours. No break either. Sorry, Leo. Could you maybe drop it off at my dorm? Just leave it on the bed or something? Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dakota. I really appreciate it. I gave him a quick hug. He still smelled good, like comfort and something familiar. Pulling back, I forced a neutral smile. I hated hearing that Derek had been over at his place, but Dakota himself was kind. I'll text you the details. If my roommate's not there, you can ask the front desk to let you in. Got it? Enjoy work, Leo. I'll try. But honestly, I'd rather be anywhere else, I sighed, clutching the bag of food. And just like that, my mood shifted. Derek had arranged this. He'd thought of me. He'd remembered my favorite food. Was he trying to win me over with gestures like this? If so, he didn't need to. He already had my love. He always had. No one was going to take that away. I promised myself that much. Chapter 25. Nathan's point of view. The nightmares still came. They always started the same. I was running down an empty street. No cars, no people, no light. At the end of the road stood a lone figure. It was Leo. He faced away from me, gazing at something in the sky I couldn't see. Then, like always, he turned and smiled. My heart skipped, because I knew that smile was for me. He spun back around and ran into a nearby building. The club. Inside, it was crowded and chaotic, filled with strangers dancing beneath flashing lights. The music was deafening, words swallowed into a blur of sound. And then I saw him. Leo stood under a single red light in the center of the floor. Beautiful. Untouchable. I pushed my way through the crowd, each step echoing too loud in my head. When Leo saw me, he pulled me into the glow with him. The moment I entered, the crowd faded away. Only he and I remained in that red-lit circle. He closed his eyes, moving with the music like it was part of him. I couldn't look away. His energy, his presence, it was magnetic. For a moment, I thought if I just reached out, maybe I could keep him with me forever. But fear got the better of me. I stepped back out of the light. The music stopped. The dancers froze. Their lifeless eyes turned toward me. "Why are you looking at me?" I demanded. No answer. Leo kept dancing, untouched, lost in his own rhythm. But then, suddenly, his eyes snapped open. He was staring straight at me. A chill raced down my spine. Black water came crashing through the doors and windows, flooding the club. I clung to a pole as the current roared past, dragging everything with it. But around Leo, the water parted. He remained safe in the circle of red light. My grip slipped. I was pulled under. When I broke the surface again, I was inside the light with him. The water swirled around us, trapping me there. Panicked, I grabbed him and held on tight, desperate for comfort. The moment his arms wrapped around me, everything changed. The water vanished. My clothes were dry. Suddenly, I was no longer in the club. I was on a bed, hovering above Leo. I froze. His warmth beneath me felt so real. His eyes, soft and steady, seemed to say everything I'd never dared to believe. "You are loved." "Nathan," he whispered, his voice echoing like music itself. I leaned closer, heart pounding. "Leo, I love you." But his smile disappeared. His body turned cold beneath my touch. Black ink spread across his skin where my hands had been, swallowing him whole until he dissolved into nothing. From the shadows, something monstrous rose up, dragging me into the darkness. I screamed, then jolted awake. A loud knock at the door nearly sent me tumbling out of bed. I hit the floor with a thud that probably echoed across the state. "Coming!" I shouted, untangling myself from the sheets. I groaned. Another nightmare. They always left me queasy, shaken, and I couldn't exactly tell Leo about dreams where he was the star. I opened the door, muttering, "Yo," only to stop mid-sentence. A stranger stood there, smiling, holding a bag. He was pretty cute. "Hey," I added, trying to play it cool. "Hi," he replied with a laugh. "Are you Leo's roommate?" His accent made the word roommate sound better than it had any right to. "Yeah." "What's up?" He lifted the bag. "Dropping this off." Leo asked me to leave it on his bed. "Oh." I stepped aside to let him in. "Working late again?" "Yeah, he said he'd be out for a few more hours." "Just put it on his desk," I said, pointing across the room. He nodded. "I'm Dakota, by the way. I'm a friend of Derek's. He asked me to bring this. It's food." "Food?" I peeked into the bag with a grin. "You think Leo would mind if I ate all of it?" Dakota chuckled. "Yes. Definitely yes. He basically drooled when he saw it." I smirked. "Fair enough. I'm Nathan." I offered him a fist bump. He looked confused, then returned it. "Not a handshake guy?" he teased. "You don't want to shake my hand," I joked. He raised an eyebrow. Did I interrupt something? I blinked. Why does everyone assume that? He laughed awkwardly. "I didn't mean." "Relax," I sighed dramatically. "I was just napping. Nightmare." "That's it." "Nightmare, huh? Sounds rough." "Yeah, you could say that." His eyes flicked down to my cast. "What happened to your arm?" "Oh, that." I looked at it like I just remembered. "Broke it?" "Long story." "Can I draw something on it?" he asked, grinning. I shrugged. "Go ahead. What do you want to draw?" "Nathan's point of view." "Do you have a black Sharpie?" Dakota asked. "Check Leo's desk." As he searched through the desk drawers, I leaned back on my bed, feet still planted on the floor. For some reason, the moment felt like I was about to undergo surgery. I stretched my arm out, letting him have space to draw whatever he wanted. He didn't say what it would be, so I braced myself for something embarrassing. Dakota returned and sat beside me, slouching comfortably. He tugged the cap off the Sharpie with his teeth and started drawing on my cast. I looked away, half-jokingly worried he might sketch something ridiculous, and I didn't want to ruin a first impression by freaking out. "So," I asked, breaking the silence, "how long have you known Derek?" "Not very long." "What about you? How long have you known Leo?" I wasn't surprised Derek hadn't mentioned me. To him, I might as well not exist. If he and Dakota had only become friends recently, it made sense why my name never came up. 5 years, give or take, I answered. Vapek. Leo and I had met before I even started college. I used to tag along with my friends to parties, and I'd see him there sometimes. We didn't really talk until maybe the 10th one. From the start, he intrigued me. Everything he said was unpredictable, even before he started drinking. When he eventually stopped showing up to those parties, I realized I'd started looking for him without even noticing. Later, I found out he was gay, and that he and his friends had stopped coming because they felt out of place. The real turning point came at an LGBTQ+ student event. Everyone wore stickers with their identity written on them. I wasn't out then, so I panicked and wrote heterosexual, even though it wasn't the truth. Nobody really talked to me, except Leo. That night, we sat in the backyard by a pool that looked like it belonged in a horror movie. We talked for hours. It was the night we became friends. Without him, I don't think I'd have ever found the courage to come out. He made me feel seen. Leo had a kind of aura around him, like he was reminding you it was okay to just be yourself. "That's a long time," Dakota said. "Yeah," I smiled faintly. "We're best friends." Dakota paused. "Best friends?" "Yeah, like friends, but closer." He rolled his eyes. "I know what it means." I just thought, well, I guess I assumed his best friend would be gay. Bisexual people exist too, you know. Dakota winced. "Sorry. I do that sometimes, make assumptions. Bad habit. I blame my parents." I laughed awkwardly. I didn't really understand why he thought Leo's best friend had to fit into some stereotype. Still, I let it slide. I'm bi, I clarified. I made the same mistake when I met Derek, Dakota admitted, going back to his drawing. I thought he was straight at first, but the first time I saw him, he was being dragged off by some creep outside a bar. I blinked. What? Yeah. I happened to be walking by. I stepped in and stopped the guy. That's how Derek and I met. That was really kind of you, I said, though my chest tightened. Did Leo know about this? Dakota nodded thoughtfully. I've met a lot of people, but Derek's different. He's been through a lot, hasn't he? What do you mean? I asked carefully. Well, you know, the breakup, the hospital, and the other thing. I froze. The other thing? What else did he know? The way he tensed when I said I was Leo's best friend made me wonder if he was hinting at something, maybe trying to make me feel guilty. He didn't need to. I already carried that weight every day. Derek had his flaws, sure, but he loved Leo more than anything. Their problems weren't about love. They were about communication, patience, and the way love can turn toxic when you lose yourself in it. And then there was me. I had crossed a line I never should have. Even if I told myself circumstances weren't in my control, deep down, I knew I had wanted it. I had wanted him. And the thoughts still hurt, because my choices had caused pain I couldn't take back. Yeah, I muttered finally. Dakota capped the Sharpie and stood. Well, I should go. It was nice meeting you, Nathan. See you around, I said, pushing myself upright despite feeling lightheaded. He grinned. Hope you like my drawing. Once he was gone, I lifted my arm to look. On the cast, in neat handwriting, he'd written, "Why do demons like blondes?" A little demon's tail curved beneath it, pointing to the answer. Because they're hot. And under that, his phone number. I snorted. It was the dumbest joke I'd seen in a while, but I couldn't help smiling. Still, I was left wondering. Was he saying he was hot because he was blonde? Or was I? Or both? Either way, the detail in the little demon tail surprised me. The guy clearly had talent. I saved his number but decided not to text him yet. Maybe later. For now, I climbed back into bed and sent Leo a quick snap. Going to sleep early. Don't wake me up, please. Chapter 26. Leo's point of view. I was sinking into a deep depression. When Nathan was out, I stayed in my room and cried until my chest hurt and I felt completely numb. When the numbness faded, the cycle began again. I went through my classes, buried myself in schoolwork, and tried to keep up with my job in between. But no matter how hard I worked, I was never satisfied. Nothing I did made me feel fulfilled, and it was finally starting to break me. Before this job, I'd gone through years of internships. 3 years of effort that now felt wasted. Since childhood, my dreams had never been clear. I wanted to do everything, be everything. But how could anyone chase every dream without tearing themselves apart? For a while, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I even started internships at a clinic. But I gave up, too overwhelmed by how much it demanded. I decided instead to become a guidance counselor, someone who could support teenagers, especially LGBT students who needed encouragement. But then doubt crept in again. What if I ended up unhappy there too? Now, here I was curled on my bed, crying and wondering where I belonged. And I wasn't done hurting yet. The last time I saw Derek was a month ago. Time slipped away fast when stress ruled your days. I missed him so much that sometimes the tears weren't just from pressure, they were from missing him. Since Derek and I stopped seeing each other every weekend, everything felt heavier. My unresolved feelings for Nathan hovered in the background, but I barely had the energy to untangle them. School took every ounce of me, and I never had a quiet moment to just think, except now, and I was using it to cry. It was risky crying so openly. Nathan could walk in at any moment, and no one suspected how miserable I really was. I wore a convincing mask for everyone. Maybe I should have gone into acting. The tears came again, stronger. Why was it so hard to know what I wanted in life? I had privileges others didn't, yet I was crying because I had too many options. Did that make me selfish? Did I even deserve to complain? That thought made me cry harder. But it also made me realize, My pain was still valid. It was okay not to be okay. My phone rang, breaking through the fortress of blankets and pillows I'd built around myself. It wouldn't stop ringing, so I reached out and answered. It was Derek. "Hey, beautiful," he said. I burst into fresh tears. "I miss you." What's wrong?" "I'm just so tired. And I'm glad you can't see my terrible crying face right now." "It's not terrible. You're cute when you cry." "Wait, that came out wrong. You're cute all the time. Don't argue." "I miss you. I miss you more." "That's impossible," I said with a shaky laugh. "You're ridiculous for even saying that." His laugh made me drop the phone. I could picture his smile so clearly, like he was right here. I wanted to kiss him, to hold him, to make the distance disappear. "Seriously, are you okay? Talk to me," Derek pressed. "I'm just stressed with school. I hate it, Dirk. Doing it stresses me out, hating it stresses me out. There's no escape. I feel like I'm running in circles and I'm miserable." "Summer's coming soon." Summer doesn't feel the same anymore. The first few summers were incredible, full of memories. Now it just means more work, maybe full-time hours or another internship. I keep telling myself I need experience, but I feel like I'll never catch up. "Or," Derek said gently, "you could come stay with me." "You know I'd love that more than anything," I whispered, "but I don't know if I can. There's so much I have to do. Honestly, I understand why you dropped out. If I didn't have help from my mom and her husband, I wouldn't have made it through even 1 year." "Yeah." His voice dipped. I could tell I'd hurt him, even though he was trying to hide it. "Please don't be upset," I said quickly, but tears were already coming again. I don't know how to make any of this better." He sighed softly. "Don't worry about me. I just want you to know you're not disappointing me. You make me happy. Life isn't simple, but one day we'll be together for real, and it will all have been worth it." But I couldn't stop thinking we were missing out. I wanted to experience my college years with my boyfriend by my side. I wanted that life with him, and it slipped away from us. "I love you," I said quietly. "I love you too." I hung up and tossed my phone aside before I broke down again. I was hurting Derek, I was hurting Nathan, and I was hurting myself. What was I supposed to do anymore? Eventually, the exhaustion from crying pulled me into sleep. When I woke up later, I ordered food. The delivery guy tried to make small talk about my shirt, and I brushed it off, too drained to deal with anything else. When Nathan finally came back, I didn't even bother covering up the fact that I'd been crying. I was sprawled on the bed, food beside me, eyes still red. He froze at the doorway. "Oh no." "Go ahead, say it," I muttered, staring at the ceiling. "Are you trying to seduce me?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm so glad we're back to our old selves," I replied sarcastically. Nathan chuckled and sat down on the bed. "By the way, a delivery guy complained to the front desk about you." "I sure hope so. If I'm not kicked out of my dorm tomorrow, then I must have done a terrible job yelling at him." "Want to talk about it?" Nathan asked. I rolled onto my stomach. He took that as an invitation to lay down beside me, which was not what I had in mind. The last thing I needed was Nathan stretched out on my bed while I was only half dressed. It didn't help my already confused thoughts, but I didn't tell him to move. Instead, I buried my face in my pillow, wishing I could hide my embarrassment. "School's stressing me out, nothing new," I mumbled, hugging my pillow tighter. While he wasn't looking, I sneaked a bite of the cold leftovers beside me. "Remember Xiomara's house?" he asked. "Her parents' place?" "Yeah. She's having a party tomorrow night. You want to go?" That was the house where Nathan and I had first spent an entire night talking. He swore we had met before that, but I had no memory of it. If it was true, I must have been out of it, because all I remembered was him saying, "Hi." And plenty of guys said, "Hi." That didn't count. I turned onto my side, propping my head on my hands. "Sounds like a good distraction." "You work in the morning?" "Yeah. I'll be free later. Maybe we can grab something to eat before the party." After he hopped off my bed and went to his, I checked my phone for the 10th time. Still nothing from Derek. I had called as soon as I woke up from my nap, but he didn't answer. He was probably asleep or playing games, but it still stung. I'd been looking forward to hearing his voice. Some days, when I was in a bad state of mind, I just needed a reminder that I wasn't alone. "Night, Leo," Nathan said, turning off the lights. He knew I couldn't stay up all night with work looming in the morning. As much as he loved late nights, he always respected that about me. "Night, loser." He chuckled quietly, and that was that. The next morning, I woke to find Nathan getting ready. His hair was damp from a shower, and he was staring between two shirts like he was choosing between treasures. Neither was really his style. He usually wore tank tops that showed off his tattoos. I always kept mine covered in case it hurt my chances at a job, but Nathan and Derek never cared. "The right one," I muttered sleepily. He turned with a grateful grin. "Morning, princess." "I'll get you for that," I grumbled. "Love you too." I stretched and reached for my phone. A few new messages lit up the screen, but none from Derek. He wasn't the fastest texter, but he never ignored me. Even a short reply would have meant the world. "Where are you going?" I asked, scrolling distractedly. "Library." "Since when do you dress nice just to go to the library?" "Meeting up with Dakota," he said casually. "I see. Just a friend," he sang with a smirk. I clenched my jaw. Was Dakota trying to steal not just my boyfriend, but also my best friend? He'd been friendly, bought me food once, even, but my overthinking brain twisted everything. What if he was trying to replace me? "I don't care," I lied. "We might come back here later." "That okay?" Nathan asked, pulling on the shirt I'd picked. "Sure," I said dryly. But inside, my heart was restless. Nathan and Dakota were getting close fast, and Nathan hadn't said if there was anything romantic between them. If not, fine. But if so, then I was being replaced. The thought made my chest ache. Maybe it was the universe's way of untangling my messy feelings. If Nathan had someone else, maybe I'd stop being confused about him. Maybe I'd finally let go. Still, it hurt. Nathan was my best friend. I didn't want to lose that. And Dakota already had Derek once. Was he now trying to take Nathan too? Even Sasha liked Dakota better than me sometimes. And that I could not forgive. "Are you guys gonna be here when I come back?" I asked, forcing my voice steady. "Don't know." "Why? Is he coming to the party?" "Haven't told him about it." Relief flickered. Nathan hadn't invited Dakota, but if he did, I wasn't sure how I'd react. "Are you leaving now?" "Yes, sorry." "Don't be. Go study, be smart, have fun," I said, waving him off. He frowned, sensing something I wouldn't admit. "See you after work." As he grabbed his things and headed for the door, I turned back to my phone, only to nearly drop it when Nathan let out a startled shriek. Derek stood in the doorway. My heart raced so fast I felt sick. He hadn't answered my calls or texts because he'd been planning this, an unannounced visit. I couldn't even speak. My chest ached at the sight of him standing there with a backpack, like a precious gem I thought I'd lost. Nathan, still on the floor, stared up at him in shock. Derek had always intimidated him. People often found Derek quiet and intense, his sharp looks almost dangerous. They didn't know the soft side beneath it all. But seeing him again, beard trimmed and eyes steady, nearly broke me. He was here, and nothing in the world could have prepared me for it. "Please don't fight," I thought. Mostly because if anyone was going to start a fight, I wanted it to be me. "You can get up." "I'm not going to hit you," Derek said. His deep voice carried an edge that sent chills down both our spines. My heart was racing so hard I couldn't find any words. "Yeah, okay." Nathan got up and picked up the books and papers he dropped. With Derek still standing in front of the door, they faced each other for a tense moment. I could feel the air grow heavier. I didn't want them to fight, especially not here, not now. If Derek lost his temper, I wouldn't be able to stop him. "If you want to talk, or whatever, I'll be back in a few hours," Nathan finally said, his voice unsteady. "Okay," Derek replied simply. His expression gave nothing away. He didn't promise things would be fine, and that only worried me more. Nathan hurried out, brushing past Derek, leaving the two of us alone. The second the door closed, I rushed forward and into Derek's arms. He caught me instantly, pulling me into the kind of hug that made all my fears vanish. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. 1 month. It had been one long month. He didn't need to say a word. I could feel how much he missed me. My chest tightened, and tears came without asking. I thought of all the good things about him, all the reasons I didn't deserve him, and I broke. I wasn't strong all the time, and in this moment, I let myself lean on him. "I missed you," I whispered into his shoulder. "I know. I missed you too," he murmured back. I never wanted that hug to end. His arms around me felt like home. But then my alarm buzzed, reminding me that I had work. I groaned, pulling away reluctantly. "I have to get ready." Derek let himself fall back onto my bed, folding his hands behind his head with that calm confidence that always made me weak. I got ready quickly, brushing my teeth and pulling together my things, all the while stealing glances at him. He didn't even need to say anything, just being there made everything feel lighter. At the bathroom door I paused. He caught my hand, gave me a look, and I leaned in to kiss him softly. Just one kiss, but it carried everything I felt: relief, love, longing. "Don't do anything reckless while I'm gone," I told him, half serious, half teasing. "You have nothing to worry about," he said, though the grin on his face didn't exactly reassure me. "I mean it. If I get a call about a fight, I'm leaving work and dragging you both out by the ears." He laughed quietly. "Nothing's going to happen." Before I could leave, he pushed up from the bed and pulled me into one more kiss, this one deeper, more desperate. It took everything in me to pull back. "I love you," I whispered. "I love you too," he said, reaching for me again. I slipped out the door before he could stop me. As I hurried down the hall, I texted a few friends. "Derek's here." I trusted him with my life, but whether I could trust him not to lose his temper around Nathan, that was another story. Chapter 27. Derek's POV. "Excuse me, young man?" I looked up and nearly jumped back when I saw an elderly woman leaning over the counter, staring straight at me through large square glasses. Her pale blue eyes were sharp, and her lips pursed like she was chewing on a lemon. "Weiss, how can I help you?" I asked carefully. "I need my pictures developed," she said, pushing forward a disposable camera. "We don't do that here. You can try Hanmart down the street." She frowned, wrinkling her nose. "What do you mean? This is an electronic store. That is an electronic device." She nudged the camera toward me. "Please develop my role. I found this in my basement. It's from my niece's birthday party years ago. Her 10th party that day, though she was turning 18. I blinked. "I'm sorry, but we really don't develop film here. Hanmart does." She huffed, snatched her camera back, and stormed out. I let out a sigh and dropped my head onto the counter. A coworker walking past gave me a pity pat on the back before heading to lunch. "Hey, Derek," said Janice, the new hire from yesterday. "Hey," I replied, resting my chin on my arms. "We're heading to Randy's for lunch. Want to come?" She slid off her jacket with a hopeful smile. "No thanks. I'll just stay here." "All right, see you later," she said, still smiling as she walked away. For some reason, she lingered like she was waiting for something more. I didn't comment. A few minutes later, Gerald appeared. "My dude, there's some guy asking for you outside." I frowned. Sasha would normally just walk in. "So who? Who is it?" I asked, standing. Gerald shrugged. "Didn't say. Just told me to send you out." I crossed the store, stepped outside, and spotted the sleek black car parked by the entrance. The tinted windows gave it away before the back door opened. Inside were Chandler and Sasha. Hi, Derek," Sasha greeted. "Hi, Sasha?" I said slowly, sliding in. "I stopped by your place, but you weren't home," Chandler said, legs crossed, expression smooth. "Yeah, I was working," I said flatly. "That's what most people do." "You're on break now, so this won't take long." He held out a sealed envelope. I tore it open, curiosity prickling. My eyes widened as I read. They wanted to pay my bills. All of them. "Why?" I asked. "We want to help you. We spoke with your father and—" "Why are you talking to my dad about me? You can just ask me directly." My voice came out sharper than I intended. Chandler shifted. We didn't want you to feel pitied. Just talk to me, I repeated. There's nothing wrong with accepting help. If your mom wants to step in, I appreciate it. But it would have meant more if you'd been there earlier. Sasha turned toward the window. Wow, this is awkward. Chandler forced a smile. Better late than never. Why bring a letter? You could have just called. Roselle wanted to write, she's old-fashioned. But I wanted to deliver it personally. I eyed him. Is there another reason behind this? Besides just wanting to help? He hesitated. We heard more of your story from your father. My jaw tightened. Talking about me without me, don't go to him for that. If you want answers, ask me. I'm sorry, Chandler said softly. His expression shifted, more sincere. I want us to be friends. Your family, Derek, whether you like that word or not. I'd like us to build something real. I studied him. I didn't care for speeches like that, but honesty I could respect. Sure, I muttered. He relaxed instantly, like he'd passed a test. We should plan something. Do you play golf? No. Ever tried it? No. Oh, then I'll teach you. Do you like boats? Get seasick? I've been on a boat once. Didn't get sick. Perfect. I bought my wife an incredible boat for our anniversary. I'd love to show you sometime. How long have you been married? I asked, more to stall than out of interest. 5 years, he said proudly. I raised my brows, surprised. What about you? Married? No, but I've thought about it. His eyes flickered with curiosity. I smirked to myself. The answer was always Leo. I hope to meet her, he said. You will, I replied casually. I'd love to introduce you to my boyfriend. His smile faltered. What? My boyfriend, I repeated evenly. I'm sure he'd like to meet you too. That's funny, he said stiffly. He's not joking, Sasha muttered. I continued, we've been together about 10 years. I've been thinking it's time for a ring before he slips away. Chandler flushed, clearly uncomfortable. Sasha smirked without looking up. It's okay. Leo wouldn't mind you mistaking him for a her. He'd probably laugh. Chandler cleared his throat. 10 years? That's a long time. Yeah, I said. He calls us high school sweethearts. I hate the phrase, but he loves it. Right. Chandler shifted again, his discomfort obvious. Sasha cut in with perfect timing. Don't assume people's identities, man. I did once, got slapped for it. I'm sorry, Chandler muttered, glancing back at me. I didn't mean to offend. I'm sure your boyfriend is great. He's okay, I said. I agree, Sasha added flatly. Does he live with you? Chandler asked, trying to ease the silence with a question. I could tell he was doing the same thing I did when I wanted to soften a moment, ask small, harmless questions so nobody had to say the big things out loud. No. He's a few hours away for school. We can't live together yet, I replied. That's unfortunate, Chandler said quietly. Yeah. Sasha rolled his eyes. You should just say you hate gay people and get it over with, he muttered, half teasing. I don't hate gay people, I said, tone flat. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but your family. You're always welcome in my home. Thanks, Chandler said, a small, awkward smile tugging at his lips. Kill me, Sasha mumbled under his breath. Chandler cleared his throat and shifted in his seat. There's one more thing, he said. He crossed his legs and unfolded a letter. Your mother left a note for you when you turned 18. My head snapped up. What? Why are you telling me this now? My voice came out sharper than I meant. That letter's been missing for years. Why didn't anyone give it to me? Chandler looked embarrassed. I didn't know about it. My older brother held onto it. He wanted to deliver it in person. Where is he? My heart thudded in my chest. If someone had hidden something from me that my mother wrote, well, that felt like a betrayal. He lives in Germany, Chandler said. And? I demanded, unable to hold back the flare of anger. None of this added up. Why hide a letter? Why go through my father? Don't worry, Chandler said quickly, startled by my tone. He comes back for an annual memorial we hold for our father and sister. We gather, people travel in from all over, we're all there. It's the only time my brother comes home. When? I asked quieter now. In about a month. I'll send the details. Grandma wanted to invite you herself. Act surprised when she does. You're supposed to bring someone, but I don't think your boyfriend will be allowed. Those words stung. Not allowed? I forced myself not to snap back. If they were going to tell me who was welcome and who wasn't, I'd simply refuse the invitation. I wouldn't let them decide what my life looked like. I'm coming with you, Sasha said before I could make my exit. Chandler didn't say much as the car pulled away, like he needed time to process everything too. Outside, Sasha watched the car disappear and made a face. Honestly, I thought he was gay until he mentioned his wife. He's too pretty, he said. Are you falling for my uncle? I asked flatly. Yeah, I am, he scoffed. We traded barbs because it was easier than admitting the ache inside. My mother's side of the family had always been awkward and a little out of step with me. Still, the help Chandler offered would change everything. The car my mother left me had kept me afloat. I'd sold it and stretched the money to cover rent and groceries for years. If they were offering to handle my bills, it wasn't charity. I could use it to give Leo the life I wanted to give him. I found myself smiling at that thought despite my reservations. Later that night I finally called Leo. I'd been out after work, hunting for something that might make sense of all this, driving around the mall, searching for a small piece of normal. At my desk, phone to my ear, I heard him before he said anything. Hey beautiful, I said. He didn't answer right away. When he did, I heard the catch in his voice. Leo was crying. I miss you, he choked out. I miss you more, I said. Hearing him so undone made something ache in my chest. It was always like this with him. He let everything land too hard sometimes. He told me, between hiccups and half-sobs, how overwhelmed he felt with school and life and the stupid pressure of it all. Summer isn't what it used to be, he said. I might have to work the whole time or do another internship. I need experience and it feels like it'll never be enough. I wanted to tell him he could stay with me. I wanted to take away the worry. You could come stay with me, I suggested, imagining a quiet summer where we could just exist together without schedules and anxieties. I'd love that, he said. But I don't know if I can. I have so much to do. I don't want to disappoint you. You don't disappoint me, I said. You make me happy. That's the truth. He tried to be tough, called himself a monster and blamed himself, but I could hear the relief when I said I loved him back. After we hung up, I felt a fierce impulse to go see him. If he needed me, I couldn't wait. I woke Sasha and grabbed a backpack, stuffing it with clean clothes and anything else I could think of. My chest was full of that same stubborn, inconvenient love I'd been carrying for years. I was going to go be with him. No more waiting, no more distance. Tonight, I would drive until the road let me breathe. Derek's surprise visit. Hey, I said, tapping Sasha on the shoulder. He mumbled, eyes still closed. He had been asleep for what felt like forever. No surprise, he'd gone 2 days without proper rest. First because of Nicole, and second because of his new job. The rotating shifts were rough, and whenever Nicole showed up unannounced, he didn't want to upset her by sleeping. Typical Sasha, trying to please everyone until he collapsed. I'm going to be away for the weekend, I told him. Please don't set the apartment on fire while I'm gone. That made his eyes snap open. Wait, you're leaving? Yeah. I'm going to visit Leo. You mean I have to sleep alone tonight? Yes. I don't want to. He gave me wide, pleading puppy dog eyes. I ignored him and double-checked my clothes. I'd already showered, but I couldn't just show up at Leo's dorm in pajamas. I pulled on a black shirt while Sasha stared at me like I was abandoning him. Call Nicole, I suggested. If I do that, I'll never get any sleep, he muttered. Remind me again why I let you crash in my bed sometimes? I teased. Because two friends can totally share a bed without it being weird, he replied, giving me a pointed look. And because you feel guilty about making me sleep on that awful couch. Fine, I said, slinging my bag over my shoulder. But seriously, no people over while I'm gone. Yes, sir. Have fun. Sasha called as I left. I rolled my eyes, choosing not to ask what he meant. I left the apartment, filled up my gas tank, and hit the road. Leo needed me, and for once, I could actually go without worrying about losing my job. I hadn't even told him the news yet. It felt like the perfect time to surprise him. But surprises also came with complications. Complications like Nathan. I forgave Leo for what happened, but that didn't mean it didn't still bother me. I told myself I'd be rational when I saw Nathan, but deep down, I knew I probably wouldn't. The drive was long, and exhaustion caught up to me. I had to pull over and nap in my car. When I woke up, I saw missed calls and texts from Leo, asking where I was. I didn't reply. The surprise would be worth it. By morning, I pulled into the familiar dorm parking lot. My nerves kicked in. The last time I was here, I'd been escorted out by the hall director. Not my finest hour. I slipped inside unnoticed, climbed the stairs, and found Leo's door. I raised my hand to knock, but the door opened before I touched it. Nathan. His eyes widened in shock, and he stumbled back like I was about to hit him. My hand was half raised, maybe that explained it. Inside, Leo sat on his bed, clutching his phone, eyes wide. Nathan was still on the floor, gasping dramatically. "You can get up," I said flatly. "I'm not going to hurt you." Nathan scrambled up and muttered, "If you want to talk, I'll be back in a few hours." "Okay," I said. He slipped past me and left. The second the door shut, Leo leapt out of bed and into my arms. His tears caught me off guard, and I hugged him tighter. That moment, him melting against me, made every mile of the drive worth it. Later, after Leo left for work, I dozed off in his bed. Being there, surrounded by his things, felt better than any rest I'd gotten in weeks. But the peace didn't last. Nathan returned. He moved quietly, putting books on his desk and slipping into the bathroom. When he finally sat across from me, his expression was tight, hands fidgeting. "I'm sorry, Derek," he said. "If we're going to talk about this," I said evenly, "then everything needs to be on the table. And you're not going to like what I have to say." He hesitated. "Did Leo tell you what I said that night at my parents' house? When you told him you were in love with him?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, I know. That's what I'm nervous about," he admitted, his voice wavering. "Because you also said our relationship was toxic? That I was controlling? That I was dragging Leo down?" Nathan swallowed hard. "Yes. I'd be nervous too." "I'm sorry," he repeated. "It doesn't bother me that you said those things. Some of them were true. What bothers me is how you crossed the line with Leo when he was at his lowest. You knew what you were doing." I told him it was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. Clearly. His jaw tightened. "But you said it yourself, some of it was true. I'm not the only one who thinks it." I knew that. Most of Leo's friends disliked me. I didn't care. Their opinions didn't define us. Nathan was the exception. At least, I thought he understood me once. "I trusted you," I said quietly. "We've known each other since you met Leo. I never thought you'd be the one to betray me. Or him." "It wasn't intentional," he insisted. "You know that." "I also know you were fully aware of what you were doing," I replied. "You didn't stop yourself. Because you love him." Nathan's face flushed red. "That's not true." "It is," I said, rising to meet him eye to eye. "Yes, fine. I love Leo." His voice cracked with frustration. "But not the way you hurt him. That's the difference between us. You think promises erase the past? They don't. Where were those promises when he needed them most?" I pushed his hand away when he jabbed a finger at my chest. "You don't know me. You're blinded by your feelings for him, and that makes you desperate. It's sad, Nathan. But remember this, I'm his boyfriend. Not you." He glared, voice low and sharp. "Just don't forget I could be the better choice." Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.